Good morning or afternoon and welcome. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming. It is Monday, the 30th of August, and it is a muggy, weird afternoon here in Ventura, California. And it's time for a walk and talk because we haven't done one of those for a while. And I always seem to use bigger words when I'm walking. So we'll see what happens. So today we're talking about the Essence D20 system announcement and taking a I think this is how it works. Look at what we've been announced so far. So if you're not familiar with the news of the Essence D20 system, Hasbro has created a partnership with the Renegade Game Studios. Renegade Game Studios, the people who brought us the much lauded, highly awarded Kids on Bikes role-playing system, to create a system called Essence D20. This is a completely separate system from 5th edition. It has nothing to do with Wizards of the Coast. I don't believe they are compatible because the Essence system is using a different dice mechanic than Wizards of the Coast. So instead, this is being done between Hasbro and Renegade to make role-playing games using Hasbro IPs, intellectual properties, for those of you who don't know what IP means. And the first three that have been announced, well, 4 that have been announced really, is we're going to be seeing a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers role-playing game, a Transformers role-playing game, a G.I. Joe role-playing game, and a My Little Pony role-playing game, which is strange because there already is a My Little Pony role-playing game called Tales from Equestria. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. There's a lot of excitement for the Transformers and G.I. Joe, and some excitement for the Power Rangers role-playing game. I'm excited about Power Rangers, but then we know I'm a big Sentai Power Rangers geek. We have had a sort of blurb about what we can expect from each system. We have a general, very vaguely general idea of how the cascading ladder system for Essence 20 works. Other than that, we really have no idea how the mechanics or character creation works. It's looking on average, each book is going to run about 300 pages. Obviously, a lot of that's going to be art and probably cost $75 or more. Again, art. Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe art. It's going to cost us a lot, and I bet there's going to be a lot of art. Each book will supposedly include rules to make your own character in that franchise, i.e. make your own Power Ranger, as well as some of the already existing characters. So we'll have a stat block for Optimus Prime and the Transformers and Hawk and the G.I. Joe. We'll have some suggested adventures, some how the work system, the general mechanics, and then just some more information on the various worlds for each IP. The Power Rangers one is going to be exploring the first 2 seasons of Power Rangers, mainly the Rita Repulsa Lord Zed storylines, and also the Machine Empire storyline, it sounds like. So that's the first 2-3 seasons that we saw here in America of Power Rangers. I assume there will be further expansions exploring other seasons or storylines, being as we are currently looking at almost 35 years of Power Rangers here in the States, and 45, 50 years of the Sentai in Japan. So a lot of stuff to mine for Power Rangers. Transformers, we don't know yet which generation. Obviously it's going to be one of the Optimus, Megatron, Bumblebee shows that we saw here in the States, so probably we won't see the Beast Morphers or the Dinos or the insects, but more of the classic Saturday morning Transformers of the 80s that we know and love. As for G.I. Joe, well, there never really was much going on in G.I. Joe. There's only like 3 stories, not counting the movies, a Serpent. So you could do all of G.I. Joe in one book and then just do, I guess, expansions for characters and adventures and world building. We do not know if we're going to see any of the others other than My Little Pony, which is strange because there already is a My Little Pony role-playing game. We're speculating on what other IPs Hasbro has the rights to. And if we're looking at the multiverse Hasbro figure collection that was limited availability during the last Hasbro Pulse, we have Transformers, Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, but we also have Mask and ROM, the Space Knight. But I'm sure a lot of us would like to see a Mask role-playing game. A lot of us would like to see a Thunder the Barbarian role-playing game, even though there already is one. Yeah, so just whatever toy lines that Hasbro has the rights to. So I guess Barbie, I don't know, Playmobil, I don't know. I mean, I have to look, I think, to see what ones, and then figure out what ones they'd actually make, you know, a game out of. Like, who has He-Man, who has Star Wars, who has Marvel? I mean, just because Hasbro makes the toys doesn't mean it's an IP that they could use to make an RPG like Star Wars or Marvel toys. But they do have complete and utter control over, in the United States, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Power Rangers. So that'll be interesting. And of course, My Little Pony. Now, what we know about the D20 Essence system is it uses a D20, and it also uses a cascading dice pool and a ladder system. So a cascading dice pool as opposed to a regular dice pool system. A regular dice pool system would use all the same dice, like D10s. You'd be rolling 1d10, 2d10, 3d10, 4d10, 37d10, and so on. A cascading dice pool, similar to what we've seen in Savage Worlds, Cortex Prime, older games like Alternity, sort of in DCC, Dungeon Crawl Classic. Cascading dice pool uses each dice higher. So you start with a D4, if we're talking Savage Worlds, and you work your way up to the highest dice, which is a D12. Index card role-playing game kind of uses a system like this. Whatever. So this is a D20, but unlike normal D20 systems, from what we understand, and again, this could be wrong, early days, while normal D20 is D20 plus skill, right? Roll your perception. Oh, I roll a D20 and my perception is +3, so I'm adding +3 for a total of 9, right? Okay, so this system instead for your rolls for skills, and I guess combat, is going to use a dice. So you roll D20 plus dice to get the total. So if you have Pilot Zord at a D4, you're going to roll a D20 plus a D4 to get your total, and whatever. So that's the cascading dice system. As you improve your skills, the skill goes up a dice. So the D4 would go to a D6, D8, D10, eventually D12, D20 plus D12. Not that mathematically the percentages of getting anything better or worse or in any ways different from rolling a D4 to a D12. You have pretty much the exact same lack of a bell curve that you have in systems that use like this, as opposed to rolling multiple dice or one dice plus a number. The best way, of course, is rolling multiple dice, and the way we're all familiar with is rolling one dice plus a number. My chances of getting a maximum roll on a D12 are exactly the same as a D4. Even though I'm rolling a higher number, the probability is still pretty much the same. So, but unlike any other system other than maybe Cortex, Essence D20 uses a ladder. So as your skill progresses from D4 to D6, T8, the ladder skill system says you can roll D20 plus all those dice, the D4, the D6, the D8, and pick the highest of the three to add to the roll. So if you roll a 1 on a 4, 4 on the 8, and a 6 on the 6, you could add that 6 to your D20 roll because it's the highest roll that you got out of the 3 to total your skill roll, and then hope that that beats the thing, the number. Other than that, we don't know anything. Character creation is basically seemingly based upon concept and feelings. We don't know the stats. We don't know if it's a level system. We don't know if there's classes. We don't know anything about Essence D20 other than this cascading ladder skill system, which I am trying to explain to the best of I can, and I'm not sure I'm correct. But the way it's written is cascade from D4, D6, D8, D12. As you improve, you change the dice. Starting dice D4, I guess. Maximum dice D12, or maybe, I don't know, 2D6, because 2D6 is probability better than D12. 2D8 is probability better than 2D6, so we'll see. Can I be rolling D20 plus 4D6? Because probability is better. And then the ladder says that I can roll all the dice in my chain, D4, D6, D8, D12, pick the highest and add that to my D20 roll, and then I'm still trying to beat that number. So it's an unusual way to accomplish basically sort of the same thing. Much more random, much more likely for higher rolls because you're rolling multiple dice, much more over the top. It definitely feels like it embraces a more of the Saturday morning cartoon feeling. It's also said that in the rules, your character can't really die. At least in Power Rangers, and I suppose also in G.I. Joe, because we know nobody ever dies in G.I. Joe. And nobody ever dies in Power Rangers. They just leave, or their actor is replaced. R.I.P. Trini. Don't know if that's the same rule for the Transformers. I assume it's going to be the same rule for My Little Pony, because I've never seen anybody die in My Little Pony. But Transformers die all the time. Optimus died and then came back. So, well, we have death rules in the Transformers, but we're not going to have death rules. So it'll be interesting to see what the rules for in Power Rangers are for creating the weird bad guys, like half fish, half calculator. What, you know, just Rita's plans, evil Tommy, good Tommy. What other seasons are we going to, you know, see books for? What other generations of the Transformers are we going to see books for? Where do you go with G.I. Joe? Because it's sort of a closed story that's, you know, never really been revisited. Are we going to see He-Man? Are we going to see Thundar? Are we going to see Barbie? Are we going to see Star Wars? What other titles does Hasbro have that we could see IPs for? Does the Essence D20 system sound interesting? It sounds potentially interesting, and there does seem to be a lot of excitement, especially for Transformers. I, on paper, like the idea of rolling the multiple dice, picking the highest, and adding it to a D20. It does feel a lot like something we've seen before, but I like it. And I think it might work better if it was just one dice, D20 plus 3D6, add the highest of the three, and each class has its own dice that is unique to that class. Your striker has your D8, your utility has your D6, your brick has your D10, and then you're rolling 3D10 if you're the brick picking the highest. That might work, might not. I mean, I don't know. I have to see how it plays out. It could be an amazing system. There's a lot, like I said, there seems to be some excitement so far, so we'll see. That's it. I am at my location where I need to be. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you appreciate this content, let me know. What are your thoughts on the Essence system? Let me know. Talk to you later.